The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 150. The Dawn. It was the 10th day of the first month of the 23rd year of Chenghua. This was a very average day, but something major had happened yesterday. Consort Wan had passed away. Many officials had only received the news after arriving at their bureaus in the morning. Unlike the numerous unknown concubines in the harem, this news was obviously extremely important due to her position in the eyes of the emperor. Lady Wan had ruled over the harem for decades and had really done nothing laudable. Instead, she created waves out of level ground, as well as ruined lots of things such as the emperor's deposition of the first empress, the storm of the crowned prince's own deposition, and so on. All of those things had invariably been her hard work. No one could really feign sadness. Lu Jian, Su Pu and the others said nothing, but even they believed that this was good news, as they felt that with her death, many things would be solved. The emperor's previous insistence upon changing the crowned prince had ultimately been because of his affection for Lady Wan, and now that she was gone, no one would be able to pillow talk him, and thus greatly reducing the influence of the Wan group. The crowned prince's crisis was resolved at last. However, before they could breathe a sigh of relief, there was another unexpected occurrence. The emperor wanted to posthumously award Lady Wan the title of empress. During the cabinet meeting, when Wanan brought up the idea on behalf of the emperor, the cabinet immediately exploded. This was not the first time that the emperor had lobbied this idea. Back when Lady Wan still lived, or, it should be said that this needed to be traced back to when the emperor had just ascended, itching to make his favorite woman the empress, only to immediately encountered opposition from all sides. The strongest objection amongst them had been none other than from his mother, Dowager Zhou. The reasons therein had been complicated, and listing them off now would be meaningless. The only thing to know was that the emperor of then was quite young and even more indecisive. He had not been able to hold up and was forced to have a different empress. Soon after that, however, due to rising conflict between Empress Wu and Lady Wan, the emperor had finally found an opportunity and took it to depose Lady Wu. He had wanted to make Lady Wan empress again, but the second time, the fierce opposition he had encountered was the same. Again, he folded and compromised. The third time was after Lady Wan had birthed the eldest prince, where he had promised that once his son was granted the title of crowned prince, the emperor would depose the current second empress Wang, then make Lady Wan empress. However, the heavens did not follow the will of humans, as his eldest son had passed early on, causing the pair's wish to go ungranted yet again. Many years had now passed. Older officials still remembered how much of a fuss the emperor had made over Lady Wan. They hadn't expected that now that she was dead, his fussing energy would resurge and he wanted to posthumously make her the empress. This did not follow the rules at all. The Ming Dynasty had a system. Most of the harem was made up of reputable girls from commoner families, with not too much attention paid to their family status. Lady Wan's origins were very much an issue of status, though, as she was descended from a criminal, and it was because of that lineage that she had been made to enter the palace as a maid. Due to fate, she had come to serve the then crowned prince, thereby becoming a fish that leapt over the dragon's gate. Her origins were no sort of honest. On top of that, she had not only made no great achievements but had never birthed a crowned prince, meaning that she had no qualifications to be empress at all. On that basis, Lu Jian immediately opposed this, listed the above justifications and ended it with, "Don't forget, Yuan Weng, that the crowned prince's mother is still only a virtuous consort." Despite Lady Ji's son being the crowned prince, she had not been made empress after her death, the emperor having only given her the posthumous title of virtuous consort of dignity, merriment, and respect. Lu Jian's implication was that if even the crowned prince's mother couldn't be titled as empress, why would Lady Wan be? "Are we not talking it over? What are you anxious about?" Wanan said calmly. "The cabinet heads all officials, and every affair of the government must be decided upon by us before being passed down. With how old you are, Lu Zixian, why are you still so impulsive? Don't you understand those regulations?" Lu Jian choked, eyes rolling into the back of his head. Unable to say anything for a long time, he sat down in a huff. After he was reprimanded, the atmosphere in the cabinet stagnated a bit. No one was willing to readily express their stances, especially not Lu Ji. Even though Wanan had called this a discussion, who didn't know that with Lady Wan's death, the emperor had to be filled with grief? Whoever opposed him right now would be torn apart by a furious emperor. Lu Cottonflower was set on not getting mixed up into this. Taking in the current cabinet, Lu Jian would be fighting with Wanan. Su Pu was inarticulate in speech, so even if he wanted to help, he likely wouldn't know how to say it. A person's death is akin to a light going out, Peng Hua said. As I see it, the noble consort is already dead. His Majesty doing such a thing is human nature and there's no harm in it, for the sake of consoling him. Lu Jian sneered. What about the virtuous consort? She needs to be posthumously granted the title, doesn't she? Where will that put the crowned prince, otherwise? You speak incorrectly. Whether she's empress or not, the crowned prince will remain so and no one can change that, Yin Ji said, acting mysteriously. His Majesty has held a deep affection. When the noble consort was alive, he had wanted to make her empress but failed. Now, if it's for the sake of consoling His Majesty, why not do it? He is distressed beyond belief, yet you insist upon blocking this. Do you hope to anger him to death, so that your wish will be fulfilled and the crowned prince will ascend sooner? Lu Jian's nose scrunched out of anger. You're being deliberately provocative with your nonsense. During his anger, Tang Fan's value was realized once more. If this has happened before, the Wan group would have long been berated into submission by Tang Fan, where an inferior like Yin Ji would never have his turn to speak heresy. Without Tang Fan's help, Su Pu and he would never be able to match up to the Wan group in a verbal battle. Seeing how Lu Jian was hopping mad, Yin Ji smirked, inwardly smug. Truthfully, from the very beginning, Lady Wan's posthumous title was just a cover, but Lu Jian and Su Pu had clearly already had their attentions attracted by it. There was no need to merely believe that the news of bestowing the Empress title would soon spread quickly, and all of society would no longer be at peace. Of those who opposed, those who agreed, those who were neutral, those who wanted to curry favor, those who wanted to express themselves, and all the quarreling parties that itched for others to accept their opinions, who would even pay attention to what was happening with the crowned prince. Watching them start to bicker, Lu Ji then said, "Does the Empress Dowager consent to this?" He pointed out the main point in one sentence. When Lady Wan was still alive, the Empress Dowager had staunchly opposed making her the Empress. Now that the other was dead, there was no way she would agree. At his reminder, Lu Jian immediately said, "Right? She would never agree to this." "Mothers and sons are of one heart," Wanan said, carrying heavy meaning. "She will not bear to see His Majesty be sorrowful for too long." The cabinet was not unified, so no result could be reached, the morning getting wasted by non-stop wrangling. When noon approached, Wanan then announced the meeting's end and everyone left, preparing to go eat lunch. "Premier!" Lu Jian called out to Wanan. Su Pu pulled at his sleeve, hinting for him not to be impulsive, but the other acted like he didn't notice, merely staring at Wanan as he clearly enunciated, "As an official, you have to think about the legacy you leave behind, as your descendants are innocent. Don't do anything you'll later regret just for a moment of feeling proud of yourself." On any typical day, Wanan would have ignored a provocation like that, but today, he stopped in his tracks. Waving in a signal for Peng Hua and Yin Ji to go on ahead, he then sneered as he asked, "What regrets? Are you even qualified to explain how to be an official to me? Eyes that do not regard the ruler, overlooking his will, is that how an official should conduct himself? The way an official should conduct himself is not to fawn but to advise wisely." Lu Jian raged. If the monarch is inappropriate in his words and actions, he must be advised by his subjects, as only then will they be worthy of the world's conscience, Be worthy of the citizenry. We are viziers. We assist the sovereign and support him in ruling the country, not those leechers that only suck up to him. Wan Yuan Wang, look inside yourself. Are you worthy of the title of vizier? Impudent. Clay figurines could still have some anger, to say nothing of how Wanan wasn't one. He knew that many people cursed him out in private, but that was one thing, because it was done beyond his hearing. This was the first time someone had scolded him while pointing at his face. Do you even know what being a vizier is? It's not your place to criticize how this lord behaves. Do you believe that you're able to protect the crowned prince? If you do, then go advise his majesty to death. You squash Baron Prawn. As I see it, even a daxing watermelon would be smarter than you. Wanan was an authentic Miazhu native. River folks would curse others on repeat, but after entering the cabinet, it had been many years since he had done so. Today, it seemed that he had been so enraged by Lu Jian that his native dialect had leaked out. Lu Jian had no idea what squash Baron Prawn meant, but he knew that it was nothing good. His face immediately went pale from anger. Rolling up his sleeves in preparation to use Henan dialect at him in turn, he was firmly stopped by Su Pu. Calm down. Calm down. It was unknown where he had gotten so much strength all of a sudden, but Su Pu hauled Lu Jian straight out, barely avoiding the war of insults that was about to be waged between the Solons. What are you pulling me for? I need to berate him to death right now. Lu Jian wrathfully said, finally able to shake off Su Pu's hand after leaving the cabinet. Su Pu smiled bitterly and said, if you won, what would it do? Not only would it do no good, but when word got out, people would laugh. The head of the cabinet fighting with a Solon, would your reputation be great, then? Didn't you hear what he said? He hugs thighs so shamelessly. Whatever the emperor wants, Wanan will indulge him. What a crummy head of the cabinet he is. What they say outside is true, he's a thigh hugger and completely loses the dignity of our cabinet. Su Pu sighed. Leave it be. If even the dowager can't object to this, what use would our desperate opposition be? I can tell that His Majesty has set his mind on this and will hold on to it to the end. I don't know what sort of spell Lady Wan placed on His Majesty, for him to have this much affection for her, even when she's already dead. Lu Jian curled his lip. What deep affection? If there really was any of that, he would have thrown caution to the wind and made her empress years ago. The fact that she's still making trouble when she's already dead is really aggravating. Su Pu's pallor changed a bit. That mouth of yours is truly unforgiving, saying that to me is fine, but don't say such things to outsiders. The other had no patience. I know. When did I say any of this to any outsider? If it wasn't for you holding me back, I would have insulted that bastard to death. Su Pu was exasperated. You're still going on about that? Lu Jian rolled his eyes. Why wouldn't I be? What does squash Baron Prawn mean? Or daxing watermelon, that really pisses me off. How about I go back and insult him for a round? With that, he turned to go back in. Su Pu quickly grabbed his arm. Hey, I said it's fine. You scolded him harshly enough already. But I haven't insulted him in Henan dialect yet. He had an expression of helplessness. Seeing Lu Jian suddenly stop in his track, he believed that he had listened to his urging and quickly said, Come, let's go. We need to be on duty in the afternoon, so let's eat first. Don't be angry, it's not worth it. However, Lu Jian asked, do you remember what he said, when he was berating me? I do. Why? Repeat it once through so I can check if I heard it correctly. Su Pu was taken aback and thought he was mad. No, they're nothing good. Are you still hung up on them? Lu Jian shook his head. No, I'm not. Unsure of what he wanted, Su Pu could only imitate Wan An's tone of voice. Squash Baron Prawn. Not that one. The one before it? Su Pu blankly thought back for a bit. The one before? He said that his actions were not for you to judge, and also that if you believe that you have the ability to defend the crowned prince, those things. Lu Jian knit his brow. This morning, we were arguing over Lady Wan's posthumous title. Why did he suddenly bring the crowned prince into this? The other was unsure. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue. Lu Jian said skeptically. He couldn't have been hinting at something. There's no way. Lu Jian shook his head, realizing that he couldn't understand this. Never mind. We should let Tang Runking fret over things like this. Su Pu smiled bitterly. No matter how talented Runking is, he won't be able to stop His Majesty from declaring Lady Wan as Empress. As I see it, it would be more reliable to keep the Dowager well informed. You're right. Let's go to the Palace of Benevolence and Longevity. Oh? Are we not eating? Eat what? We'll eat after we get back. All right, all right, all right. Don't drag me, slow down, slow down. My bones are old, they can't take the stress. Word of the fight between Wanan and Lu Jian quickly spread. This was a rare event. There's always been discord within the cabinet, but today's sort where hostilities came out, was infrequent. However, compared to the emperor wanting to posthumously promote Lady Wan, it really seemed like nothing. A lot of discussion bubbled up between everyone. No lack of censors were readying themselves, already prepared to send memorials of admonishment. Tang Fan heard of this as well but didn't place importance on it. That was, until Lu Jian came to the Tang home in the evening to tell him what had happened that morning. I didn't take it to heart, really. Wan Yuanweng's lack of propriety is not something that popped up overnight. Lu Jian would never say that he had nearly been angered half to death earlier. However, after I went home, I thought hard about it. It was a little more reassuring for me to come over and talk to you, but I think I might be reading too much into it. Daxing watermelon. Tang Fan chewed those words over, a bit confused. Why would Wanan mention daxing for no reason? Lu Jian looked embarrassed. Was it not just a figure of speech to insult me with? Tang Fan pondered for a bit but couldn't think of a reason, shaking his head. It ought to just be a run-of-the-mill insult. I can't hear anything strange out of it. Lu Jian sighed in relief. It's good if it was nothing. Wan Yuanweng is a scheming, cunning and treacherous man. I feared that he was implying something, but it seems I overthought it. As it was getting later, Lu Jian took his leave quickly. Tang Fan personally saw him to the door but did not return to his home, instead going for the neighboring Sui residence. Sui Zhou knew that Lu Jian was visiting, so he hadn't gone to seek Tang Fan out. Seeing him come over now, he asked, "Has he left?" Tang Fan nodded. Yeah. He was a bit distracted, mulling over what had just been said. Noticing his odd expression, Sui Zhou asked again, "What is it? What's so special about daxing watermelons?" Sui Zhou was mystified. Where would watermelons come from this time of year? Tang Fan felt that line of thinking to be kind of strange and changed the phrasing of the question. Does daxing grow watermelons? I think so. Does every single household grow them? I don't know for sure, but Xueling is from daxing. I can find him and ask tomorrow. We should do that now. His uneasy attitude was somewhat strange. When it came to many things though, Tang Fan's caution had always proved to be unusual and necessary after the fact. That much, Sui Zhou had profoundly experienced himself, having gone through life and death with him. The current affinity between them had reached a point where they didn't need to say much to understand each other. Therefore, upon hearing that, Sui Zhou immediately left to find someone without any discussion. Xueling was speedily located. He was in the middle of a drinking contest with his colleagues in a pub he frequented. The scent of alcohol in him had not yet dispersed. Suddenly getting called out to his superior's home was inevitably a bit embarrassing for him, but neither Tang Fan nor Sui Zhou were thinking about those details. Daxing. Xueling was a bit surprised. He hadn't expected that Suizhou would call for him in the middle of the night to just talk about this. An abundance of fruits are grown there, yes. Most of the watermelons and grapes given as tribute to the palace are from Daxing. The neighbor of the subordinate's ancestral home is one of those melon farmers, but I heard them say that the profit margin is small because the price the government pays isn't high and they can't sell them to merchants. He had no idea what Tang Fan wanted to ask, so he could only say what he knew. There was nothing off with what he said, of course. Tang Fan frowned. Is that all? Did you ever hear any rumors there that were related to Wanan? Xueling thought, then shook his head. No. Tang Fan was a little disappointed. He couldn't think of anything else to ask, saying to himself that perhaps Lu Jian and he really had overthought this and Wan An's remarks might have purely been insults born of anger. Oh, right. Xueling suddenly said. I heard that not all of the melon farmers were losing money. There's one family that somehow has claimed a relationship with Wan Tong because they live right next to his separate residence. For that reason, when the government purchases melons from that family, they always give a higher price than to other families. Tang Fan's heart felt cold. You're saying that Wan Tong had a separate residence in Daxing? Xueling nodded. Yes, but he rarely stays there. I heard that it's where he puts concubines that fell out of favor and he only occasionally comes over to have a look at them. Hearing this, Tang Fan's brows tightly knitted. If Wan An's remarks genuinely were referring to something else, was it this? But why would Wan An give a hint to Lu Jian? Had he known that the latter was bound to inform him of this? But, wasn't Wan An on the same boat as Wan Tong? Why would he do such a thing? Even if there is an actual problem with Wan Tong's second residence, what did it have to do with the crowned prince? Many questions quickly rushed up to his mind. In spite of his intelligence, it was too hard for him to solve these tangled mysteries for right now. Do you believe that Wan An was giving us a clue? He asked Suizhou. The other thought a bit, then suddenly brought up a different, irrelevant matter. Back when you dealt with Chen Luan in Suzhou, then implicated Shang Ming in it, Huayan and Wang Zhi used that chance to strip him of his post as the Eastern Depot director. The emperor agreed. Wan An saw the way things were going and sent a memorial endorsing it. That made Wan Tong really mad and he loudly berated Wan An for being an opportunist, but the two quickly made up. You weren't in the capital, so you didn't know. Tang Fan's eyes shone. You mean to say that Wan An doesn't stand firm with the Wan group but has his own agenda? His agenda is nothing other than to curry favor with the emperor and preserve his own wealth. Since the emperor was set on consort Wan and obeyed her commands, he went along with it. If there comes a day where the emperor spurns Wan Tong, he would definitely not stand on the latter's side. Saying so, his mouth curved up into a sneering arc, but he didn't laugh. People like him can only share in wealth but would not share in adversity. If the head of the cabinet Wan couldn't share any adversity, that was a problem Wan Tong needed to worry about, not them. However, Tang Fan heard a note within Suizhou's words. What Wan An had insulted Lu Jian with were quite possible not things blurted out on a whim. There was just one last question. Even if we've guessed that Wan Tong might be hiding some nasty secret in his other residence, we would never be able to go search it with haste. And, if nothing is found, we'll lose that up on him. That's no problem. Leave it to me, Suizhou said, turning to Xueling. Go gather our brothers up now. Xueling not only didn't look hesitant and fearful but instead showed an eager excitement. We're going to go turn that son of a bitch's house upside down. Suizhou lightly nodded. Go wild, just keep your identities hidden. Xueling laughed, rubbing his palms. Rest assured, brother. Having you lead us means that our spoils are going to be massive. We brothers have long been wanting to make things difficult for that bastard, since he always tries to push down on our heads. Hearing his tone of voice, he didn't resemble a member of the Jinyu but a bandit who was about to rob someone's house. Daxing was located in the outskirts of the capital and under the Shuntian prefecture's jurisdiction. However, no matter how close it was to the capital, it ultimately wasn't the capital. The evenings there grew quieter, and it became silent after nightfall. On this night of no wind that it looked like even the plants were frozen in ice, standing upright and noiseless, not moving at all. During summer nights, there would typically be sounds of birds and insects, while in the season, they had all gone without a trace. In this freezing landscape, every citizen that had a home to shun the cold out was hiding away inside right now, shrinking back into bed, the wife and children on the warm con. It was basically the best comfort in winter time. This second residence beside Dalong River was no exception. Even though it might look grander and more beautiful than the farms surrounding it during the daytime, it was not visible now. After the candle in a certain room of it completely went out, it, too, would sink into a deep sleep at night. Until a woman's shriek was heard. Miss Man tightly clutched her blanket, looking at all of these men of unknown origin in horror. The torches they held lit the room up and they were dressed in all black, only their eyes were visible, fierce and cruel looking. One glance told that they were nothing good. She wasn't the only one screaming in the house, but there was nothing any of them could do but scream. Do you know what this place is? This is the second residence of the Jinyue's commanding officer. You dare to barge in here? Do you want to die? Leave, now. Her voice trembled, as she hoped that Wantong's title would scare them off. However, she was disappointed. The others not only didn't listen to her but they even searched all around her room. Miss Man was one of Wantong's concubines, having been sent here a few years ago after falling out of favor. Pretty much all of the women in the residence had come here for that reason. They knew well that this was their fate for the rest of their lives, but there was nothing they could do but be forced to live day after day of a lonely life in the residence, waiting for Wantong's occasional, whimsical visit. However, about half a year ago, these circumstances had changed. The residence had, for some reason, suddenly been garrisoned with a large amount of highly skilled guards. For this reason, the range of activities that the woman had been able to do had further reduced and they were confined to the rear courtyard, never to step foot into the front courtyard. Also, Wantong had started visiting more frequently after that, but he still rarely set foot into the rear courtyard. The women were like wilted flowers, seemingly completely forgotten. One of Miss Man's sisters hadn't been able to bear the loneliness and wanted to seduce one of the guards, but Wantong had found out and immediately dragged her out to be beaten to death. The sound of that club hitting flesh and those tragic screams were things she still remembered. Ever since then, the front courtyard had become a forbidden area. Now, however, these black-clothed men had entered a no-man's land, yet no one had come to stop them. Those guards might be dead, if they couldn't even notice the commotion on this side. The only possibility is that those men had since been dealt with. Miss Man's heart jumped, seemingly seeing hope in escaping this residence. What are you all looking for? When she had laid down, she was wearing only a dudu, yet these men hadn't spared her a glance. Clearly, they hadn't come to assault her. However, they definitely weren't here to steal either, because the silk fabrics in her trunk had been overturned and scattered on the ground, occasionally getting mixed with some valuables, yet they didn't go for it. Shut up. If you keep blabbing, I'll kill you. One of the men in black said, the impatience in his tone obvious and plain to hear. Miss Man watched as they took a dagger out to pry up the bluestone tiles, and once again she drummed up her courage. I know what you're looking for. The movements of the men in black suddenly paused. All of them looked at her. She cowered a bit, stammering out, actually, I don't know that well, but you all must be looking for something specific? I might know a clue. What do you know? Said the same man. What will I get for saying it? She answered, wanting to bargain. The other's response was to put a knife right to her neck. I was just kidding, she immediately tried to soothe. but if you're looking for something, it definitely wouldn't be here. It would be in the front courtyard. End chapter.